Incredible insight from someone who was a Toronto cop for nearly 30 years. He is now CEO of Investigative Solutions Network. A familiar face to our viewers. Dave Perry, good to see you under terrible circumstances.
That's for sure.
I noticed that the police, there's some activity behind us. What are they doing right now?
It appears that they're doing one final sweep of the scene before they either move something or release any part of the scene. Probably just looking for minor evidence.
And then the tape would be released?
Well, possibly. And or they're going to allow police officers and more people to have access to the actual inside scene.
In talking to you before going to the broadcast, I talked about the retaliation aspect that the chief brought up earlier, and you had a frightening scenario that they may be turning things up, they being the gang members.
Absolutely, and retaliation is a normal part of this process, this subculture. And quite often we see retaliation same day, next day, 2 weeks from now. Nobody can really predict. But generally speaking, when there's a murder, there will be retaliation, and that's I think that's the biggest fear in the minds of the police right now.
Biggest fear in minds of the public is that it's been happening in public spots. You're saying that might be part of it.
Absolutely, and one of the things that we're seeing here, especially in the last month, is a bit of a pattern where we've seen a lot of gang activity, shootings, murders that are happening in very public places where they ought to know that other people, innocent bystanders, are going to be affected. And my fear right now is that this could be part of the gang culture where they're starting to try and do one-upmanship, if you will.
Yeah, rite of passage.
Maybe it's a rite of passage, maybe it's to the point where they're saying, you know, if you really want a name with us, do it very public. What's next? They do it on video and put it on YouTube, I don't know, but it's quite frightening.
Bottom line, has the chief admitted the city hasn't seen this kind of crime in one night, worst night in terms of mass shootings in the city's history, at least in recent history. Where do we go from here, as a police force and as a city?
Well, you know, first of all, I mean, this is a horrible, tragic case, and so many people were impacted and became innocent victims of this random act. But I can tell you this, it's a wonder it hasn't happened before. When you look at the shooting that happened at the Eaton Centre, it's a marvel that we didn't have as many victims or more victims at that particular shooting. Where do we go as a city? We have to really launch a war against guns and gangs and drugs in this city, because that's what's behind all of this. And I can tell you right now, I feel for Chief Blair, because he is stressed by the number of resources that he has, and he can only do what he can do with those resources. I think we need more police officers, and I think we need a very focused concentration of those new police officers, and they'd have to be many to really take this problem on seriously.
As Torontonians, I would imagine the worst thing we can do is live in fear and go inside. We should continue to live our lives as we are and not let the gangs win.
I'm always a proponent of not letting the gangs win.
Right.
However, when you have this kind of violence, this is going to have an impact on this particular neighborhood and this community for a long, long time.
All right, Dave Perry, always a pleasure. Thanks for your insight. Appreciate it.